All right, everyone. Josh Hawley, I think he weighed in on the tech thing like some weeks ago, and I think I had a bone to pick with him then, too. He's introduced what's called the SMART Act, which is like the social media bullshit act, essentially, but it really should be retitled the Moron Act, or the I'm a low-info voter, and I'm just taken in by empty slogans act, or the I'm fucked up, I'm a stupid neocon act, or something like that, because that's really what it boils down to. What this would do... Strange as though it may sound, this is what Josh Hawley thinks will solve the problem of big tech. This would cause, like, social media firms, and I don't think they mean, like, YouTube, because that's not really kind of social media. I think they mean, like, Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Would have to have a setting on that would, like, limit you to 30 minutes a day unless you opted out of the time limit, like to prevent people from wasting the entire day on Facebook. Some people are presenting that, like Gab did a blog post insinuating that it was mandatory. It's actually not if you read, the true write-up of the act. But it is problematic anyway. First and foremost, you should never pass a law that doesn't properly address an issue. This does nothing to talk about big tech censorship. All this does is further regulate if you actually read it, and here's the other component, which is that it does cause an effect. It's a bad one. It would simply increase government regulation over the internet. It would subjugate some aspects of the tech firms to government. But we don't need to do that. The thing that they're hoping, the thing the authoritarians right now are hoping that the world will ignore is quite simple. The internet has been around for quite some number of years. It largely was working fine in the absence of any form of government regulation. In fact, until very recently, Americans bristled when some foreign country imposed even the slightest amount of censorship. We looked abroad, Chinese intranet aside. We looked at Putin going after Putin memes. We looked at crackdowns on internet content in India. We looked at crackdowns on internet content in religious countries, especially for blasphemy laws and stuff, Eastern Europe, Latin America. And we bristled at it. We said, well, we ridiculed it. Well, that's wrong. It's not necessary. It's, get with the times, so to speak. Now, all of a sudden, these same people, these soccer moms, the normies that Josh Hawley wines and dines, I suppose, have no problem with the idea that our government would do the same fucking shit. And that's basically what it is. This isn't going to help content creators. All you need to do is remove censorship by big tech firms. You don't need to impose any form of regulation in order to do that. You simply need to revert to the internet as it was even 5 years ago. The internet peaked about 5 years ago. That was at the mid-2010s is when the internet was really, really good. If you look at these sites, there was less censorship. There were less problems all around. And it just happens to coincide with the lull in U.S. gun crime, among other things. I wonder if people were achieving catharsis by actually being able to vent online without being ridiculed and called names by the lamestream for it. And things peaked around 2013 through 2016 or so. That's the peak, the golden age of internet. And a little bit before that. Basically, for the mid-2000s it was good. From then it was great, and now it's in decline again. It's in decline because of a combination of two things. It's very, very simple. Corporations becoming monopolistic and censoring and suppressing independent content, and governments trying to do the same thing, usually justifying it by the former. Oh, the corporations have become a big problem. Hawley's a Republican. He's like a Trump ally. His thing is, well, tech firms shouldn't censor things. No, the government should step in and do that. Why don't we have Clear Channel for the internet to stop me from saying fuck? To stop little Jimmy from accidentally hearing bad words. I guarantee you, you let the government get its foot in the door. Here's the problem. We let the U.S. government get its foot in the door and start doing this with the proclamation that it's trying to think of the children. Oh, we're trying to save the internet from the evil corporation censoring thing. We want to prevent that evil Google, that evil Facebook from telling you what to think. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, government's going to come in and do something good for a change, the first fucking time in its existence. They'll establish the same shit they had in, like, terrestrial radio. Oh, we're just going to come in and make sure people don't fuck each other. We're going to make sure that the airwaves are clear and open and that there's expression going on. Oh, yeah, but we're going to do that by censoring everything. We're going to censor things. We're going to start getting people kicked off for basic things. We're going to give monopolistic grants to pseudo-privatized corporations that'll impose even more rules that we're not constitutionally able to impose. That's what'll happen. We'll have to have a whole separate internet. We'll have to do to the internet what was done to radio and create a paid, privatized alternative, a satellite-based alternative for people. Because it's the only way that you'll have any form of free expression on the internet at that point. The big tech firms in the end will bend before government, and they'll keep doing the same thing they're doing now, and then worse, because they'll be enabled legally by those people. What you need to do is crack apart the monopolies. You need to force more competition in, and you need to stop vertical monopolistic practices in which these firms are getting together in order to preclude private individuals and smaller groups from competing. They've done this numerous times. This has been done to Gab. It was done to InfoWars and Alex Jones, notably. Jones isn't in prison, but he's been treated essentially like he's already been convicted of a crime. He's been extrajudicially punished by a bunch of tech firms in collusion with one another to kick him off of the visible internet in order to prevent him from effectively launching a response to slander against him. It should have ended then. We should have stepped in at that point and said enough is enough. No, this shouldn't be happening. He should be able to speak. There's no legitimate claim to why he should be kicked off of the visible internet. Cut it out. But people were fucking lazy. And because they got lazy, the problem got worse, which is what tends to happen. Now all of a sudden they wake up to the sad realization that even the corporate lamestream realizes there's a problem with big tech firms acting in such a manner, and now their solution is, hey, we'll just have the government come and fix our problems. Government can't fix your problems. Asking the government to regulate things and keep the children safe has never worked. Oh, the government will keep little Jimmy from watching violence on TV, but yet we're still going to blame violent video games, violent movies, violent music, and everything for little Jimmy's outbursts. All of those labeling laws, all of the censorship of the 70s through the 90s, did it work? Or did the soccer moms just find something else to blame? They found something else to blame. There will always be a societal boogeyman because there will always be societal problems. Right now the boogeyman is people like me. The real boogeyman should be big government, which is trying to censor things, and big tech firms, which are trying to censor things. They're working towards the same goals. And do you honestly think, let me ask you this in closing. Let me ask you an important question, because money makes the world go round. We all know it. We can pretend that it doesn't, but it does. Churches, their gods are basically coin operated. When we think about it that way, do you believe that some group of senators, governors, whatever, is really going to stand up to the same big tech firms that got them elected? Because we got Citizens United in the United States, so these people are partially owned by Facebook and by Google and stuff. Do you think they're going to do jack shit? No. They'll enable them further. They'll slap them with regulations, and through doing so, they'll actually apply it to smaller competitors and squish them out of existence. It'll be the same as the corporate welfare scams of the right wing, people like Josh Hawley, in regards to businesses. Well, this is pro-business. It'll lower the business tax rate. Yes, but only for big corporations able to use the loopholes you're creating. The smaller businesses, the family farm, the single owner business, the sole proprietor, the self-employed like myself, we get fucked. And your big corporate multinational buddies pay less money. Wonderful. Great times. Great success. Ironically, the only one who structured a tax reform bill that didn't do that was Trump. His latest tax reform bill gave genuine support to people like me who are somewhere in the middle class as sole proprietors. Other than that, though, people on the right, the neocons, they throw money to the big corporations, and they'll keep doing that. They're not going to remove the subsidies for these big tech firms. They're going to make it harder for their smaller competitors. You watch what happens if you pass this kind of law. The big tech firms will pretend to balk and not like it, but ultimately they're not going to fight too hard against it. No, ultimately they'll probably insert into their algorithms that it's good that such a thing should happen. They'll allow it to happen because it's not going to harm them at all. Bottom line is it's all about money. If it's not going to harm their money, they don't care. All it's going to do is regulate their smaller competitors. We should stand against it completely. His SMART Act is not smart in any way, shape, or form. This is not the sort of solution we need because it's not a solution at all. That's about all. Peace out.